On behalf of Mr. Campbell, we want to express our gratitude to State Attorney Bernie McCabe for the extraordinarily thorough investigation which he conducted into the events leading up to and involving the arrest of Mr. Campbell. It was a very fair, very objective investigation that went wherever the evidence took, and I think it's portrayed a very clear picture of what happened that night. Now, Mr. McCabe's report to the governor is a blistering condemnation of the conduct of police officers and lawyers with the Adams and Diaco law firm. There is no doubt now in anyone's mind that Mr. Campbell was the victim of a setup that was so outrageous that the prosecutor appointed by the governor dismissed the entire case against Mr. Campbell. The conduct of the police involved and the lawyers from the Adams Diaco law firm was despicable. It's a disgrace. The conduct is disgusting. And it is an insult to every honest and ethical police officer and lawyer. Those who participated in the setup of the arrest of Mr. Campbell should be ashamed of what they did to Mr. Campbell and should be ashamed of their conduct. Now, 6 months have passed since Mr. Campbell was arrested. So my question is, what has the city of Tampa and what has the Tampa Police Department done to address this scandal? And the troublesome answer is virtually nothing. The chief of police announced that Sergeant Fernandez has been temporarily reassigned to other duties, a non-disciplinary action. So for 6 months, the Tampa Police Department has done nothing. This is not the first scandal in recent memory regarding the DUI unit. A Tampa citizen named Al Fox was arrested several months ago by this same DUI unit and blew a 0 on the breathalyzer, and the FDLE lab came back with no drugs in his system, and the case was dismissed. It's also clear that the Tampa Police Department is incapable or unwilling to investigate the unit itself, based upon previous statements made by officials of the Tampa Police Department. As a result, I have written today to Mayor Buckhorn and to Chief of Police Castor. And I've asked the mayor to appoint a special independent counsel to investigate the DUI unit of the city of Tampa. I believe that the special independent counsel should be a lawyer with no ties to the Tampa area, preferably a former federal prosecutor with experience in corruption, police procedures, and should be given power to take his or her investigation wherever it goes. At the end of 120 days, the special independent counsel should present a report to the mayor and the citizens of Tampa explaining what happened here and making recommendations so that a scandal like this never happens again in the city of Tampa. In my letter, I have addressed a number of areas that I believe that the special independent counsel should investigate over and above what's happened to Mr. Campbell and the circumstances of this case. One of the questions that we ask, is there a quota system with the DUI unit in the city of Tampa that causes unnecessary or perhaps improper arrests to be made? We ask the special counsel to take a look at how friendships, personal friendships with police officers should be handled. Should friends of police officers be able to call the police officer in his or her car on a cell phone on a line that is not recorded and cause eventually, perhaps, as in this case, the arrest of a citizen? So in conclusion, I strongly encourage Mayor Buckhorn to address this issue immediately. It's now a scandal that is festering. We have virtually nothing from the Tampa Police Department explaining what happened that night, and perhaps even more importantly, what steps are they taking to prohibit this from happening again. So that concludes my statement. I'll take a couple of questions, but I'll leave most of this to the letter that I've written.
Are you taking legal action against the offer firm?
There are different options that are available. We have not made any decisions yet as to those options.
What about the bar, John? You talked about the police part of the thing. What about the attorneys involved in the bar action? You say it's been 6 months as well.
Well, we have no control over the bar action, but my strong personal feeling is that when this case is done, some people should no longer have lawyer after their name.
Be disbarred.
Yes, the ultimate sanction should be taken against lawyers that engaged in this activity.
What if the city does not appoint this special investigator?
Well, the question is, why are they stalling? So far, their story has been they're waiting for the federal investigation to get done. Well, I've set forth in the letter a number of things that have nothing to do with the federal investigation that need to be investigated. And furthermore, that's just a delay tactic, and it's an excuse by the City of Tampa Police Department not to answer the hard questions. The FBI investigation has been going on for some time. They've conducted their interviews. They've looked at the evidence. There's nothing more that they need to do from what I can see with the Tampa Police Department. It's time now for the Tampa Police Department to step up and address this scandal.
What if they don't do what you're suggesting? What is your next course of action?
Well, I think a lot of this depends on do the public officials in this town care about this scandal? I would be extremely disappointed if the public officials don't do something. They've done nothing yet, and it's time for the public officials to act.
Why should the public care about this scandal?
Well, if this can happen to somebody like Phil Campbell, it can happen to anybody. Somebody going through a divorce. Your soon-to-be ex-spouse could have a friend on the police department that sets you up and impact child custody issues. You could be in a business dispute with somebody, and your opponent has a friend on the Tampa Police Department to set you up with an arrest. It never ends. Plus, it's a fundamental assault on our democratic system. The police have enormous powers, as we all know. They own the streets. But if the police are in cahoots, if you will, with private citizens and target another private citizen, the system just doesn't work.
How would you characterize Sergeant Fernandez's actions that night?
Well, I've already said that the lawyers and police involved in this, their actions are disgusting, they're disgraceful, they're scandalous, they're atrocious.
If Fernandez were to go back to DUI at the end of this, what would this do to affect future DUI? If he makes DUIs in the future, what would you as a lawyer have to say to that if you represented him?
Well, State Attorney McCabe's report to the governor specifically stated that one of the reasons this case would not go forward because of credibility issues with Sergeant Fernandez and Officer McGinnis. I can't think of a stronger condemnation of a police officer that a prosecutor says, in essence, you can't trust him. And I think that could have an impact on testimony now and in the future.
46% of Fernandez's cases don't end up in a DUI conviction. Prior to even this incident happening, does that raise questions in your mind?
Well, I've raised questions about whether or not there's a quota system or some system that encourages officers to make arrests that may not be good arrests, or arrests that are substantiated or supported by the evidence. But other than that, I can't speak to that.
Does it bother you at all that he doesn't have a dash cam in his car?
I raised that in my letter. Why did Sergeant Fernandez not have a dash camera in his car? Today in the 21st century, there are cameras everywhere. And police have found all over the country that having video cameras helps their job. It shows what happened. If somebody wrongfully accuses the police officer of something, the camera is the most solid evidence. I would want a camera recording everything I did if I were a police officer.
Do you get any sense this goes beyond this sergeant, that there's this kind of thing throughout the police department, or do you think it's just this limited group of people?
Well, my only focus here is the DUI unit. That's only been my involvement in this case. So,
John, what's the FBI focusing on? What civil rights issues are they looking at?
well, I don't know is the short answer. They don't call and tell me.
John, other than being relieved, can you characterize Phil Campbell's reaction to this whole incident? I mean, he was the target of everything. Talk a little bit about Phil.
Well, it's been an ordeal that you can't describe. If any of us went through this, it would be horrific to us. It can have impacts on our jobs, on our livelihood, our future livelihood, our reputation. You name it, it's there. And it can destroy a life if this thing it gets out of control. Unfortunately, Mr. McCabe took this investigation where it needed to go, and there shouldn't be any dispute after reading his investigation. This thing stinks. Okay, thanks very much, Dan.